want war. Crime babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers. Cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguise is religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Damn, y'all. Let me just check. What's up to the listeners, to the chat, everybody that's coming in. Let me just check the audio real quick to make sure it's working. Okay, all right, it's good. Now, I wrote this song, They Want War, 20 years ago. What you listening to is the remaster and remake of it, right? But the audio, the vocals and all of that is the same. The concept is the same, and so, but it matches exactly my observations of what's going on today. I mean, the Trump administration is trying to create a war environment inside of the United States. And why is he trying to create it? Diversionary tactic to make the big score. They want the resources, the core resources of the United States of America to themselves. A small group of people that have gone out, bought themselves the whole internet, bought themselves the disinformation networks, and they are pumping it hard. They're pumping it hard. And so just remember that. They want war. Yeah, they want war. But it's a diversionary tactic so they can make the big score. They want shit to go into chaos so that they're there in the end to bag all the resources. That's what they want. In other words, they want to cheat the American people. They want to create a circumstance by any means necessary so that they can justify. And you could see Trump has already jumped the gun. He's already sent the military out to, try to exacerbate problems that already exist, to create fear so that Americans will say, damn, why are the militaries on our street when it's against the goddamn Constitution, so people can pick up arms. That's literally what he wants. You see, and unfortunately, the corrupt ass Supreme Court, gave this man immunity to make him feel like, yo, go for it, man. Go for that. You could go for it. We could just argue it out in the courts. But meanwhile, people will be afraid across the country. People, American citizens will be afraid for their actual lives. And what they do, you will have the authority to do whatever you want with them until the matter is brought to court. No, that is pure corruption at its heart. The Supreme Court needs to stand the hell up and take the blame for what is happening. They need to take the blame. They allowed a 34-time felon, person who already had been seen stealing, taking, and refusing to return top secret documents when requested by the federal government. And, today it is what it is. He said he wasn't with Project 2025, doesn't know anything about it. When he got elected, mainly people from Project 2025 are in his cabinet. And now he's saying, oh, yeah, I'm with the Project 2025. And what is that? To gut the government. Right? To gut government services. I mean, that's what they announced. Everything that was in Project 2025 is what he's doing now. And now they got to the point of a shutdown, right? Where they want to blame it on the poor people and the middle class workers of America. And even to this point, Mike Johnson even has the nerve to go out there and say, hey, it's the Democrat shutdown, so we can't negotiate in a shutdown. We can't. When they asked them about, hey, well, can you at least swear in the newly elected congresswoman out of Arizona? He says, well, we can't do that in a shutdown. But that's a lie. There's no shutdown for Congress. Y'all, Congress is still open. I hope you know that. Congress still gets paid. There's nothing in that. We've gone through that before. By law, Congress is still functioning, period. They're still getting paid. Their funds are not held up by anything. No, the president is getting paid. Caroline Levitt is getting paid. Mike Johnson is getting paid. Every Republican congressperson that's on vacation now, again, is getting paid by your tax dollars right now. And they're claiming that they can't do anything. They can't negotiate. They can't swear in people because of the shutdown. That's a damn lie. That's just a flat out lie. And the American people just going to need to stand up. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're okay with lying while you pay taxes, just because the lies benefit your position, if you're okay with that, then you should never mention it ever happening to you in the past or ever again in the future. You should stay out of the conversation if you're okay with lies by public servants that get paid, right? But they are obviously lying about it. And it's so shameful. I really don't know what to say about it other than listen to some of this stuff and so people can hear it for themselves. Let's listen to Mike Johnson a little bit. And by the way, I wanted to say there was a judge and a representative that's home was just engulfed in flames, exploded in, I believe it's North or South Carolina, and we're going to review that. I hope they're okay. But in any case, let's listen to what we got here and see what they say.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Leader Jeffries, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you here on a very busy morning. I do, of course, want to get to the shutdown. But first, I have to ask you about these developments in the Middle East. Of course,
immediately. Of course, we need to surge humanitarian assistance into Gaza so we can structure that is put.
Let me just get past this Gaza thing for the moment.
Put into place that allows for normalized relations between the Palestinian people and Israel.
All right, well, let's turn to the big news here in Washington, of course, which is the shutdown. Before lawmakers broke for the weekend, House Speaker Mike Johnson said the House would not return to Capitol Hill this week or in tour till Leader Schumer reopens the government. When is the
So the House, they're getting paid. So they're not forced to go out of session. So there's a difference between being out of session and because of a shutdown. That's not because of a shutdown. Sorry. They get paid their salary normally like nothing ever happened to the end of times. If a nuclear bomb hits Washington, D.C., Congress gets paid. If a nuclear bomb hits Washington, D.C., the president gets paid. Caroline Levitt gets paid. That's just what it is.
The last time you spoke.
Now the military doesn't get paid. ICE in a shutdown. ICE doesn't get paid in a shutdown. A lot of other staff may not get paid in a shutdown. The people who have contracts with the federal government, like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and others, some of their projects won't get funded. Some of those people working for them won't get paid. Also, there's a lot of people on both sides that won't get paid, but your congressional members get paid. Hakeem Jeffries gets paid. Yes. Trump gets paid. The senators get paid. Yeah.
With Republican leadership?
Well, the last time there was a conversation with Republican leadership was in the White House meeting last Monday. And unfortunately, since that point in time, Republicans, including Donald Trump, have gone radio silent.
So there's been a shutdown for a week, right? Or for some days. But the last time they met was before the shutdown. That was a week ago. They haven't met since then. It's like day 5 coming up of the shutdown, but these people get paid. They're not among. Hakeem Jeffries is getting a check in his pocket right now by Republicans, by people, every MAGA taxpayer. Hakeem Jeffries is getting a percentage of your taxes that you pay. Every Democrat one, every independent one. And the same goes for MAGA Mike Johnson. The same goes for Caroline Levitt. The same goes for Donald Trump. Their pay is not held up. Others are, but it's not congressional members, not senators, and it's not elected officials, right? Or not on the federal level. Now, but ICE and the military, they ain't going to get paid. They have to wait until the shutdown is finished, until lawmakers who aren't affected by the shutdown actually do their job. Yeah, everybody else got to wait for their check pretty much.
And what we've seen is negotiation through deep fake videos, the House canceling votes, and of course, President Trump spending yesterday on the golf course. That's not responsible behavior.
Yeah, Trump was getting paid while he was on the golf course. He's not in the shutdown. I hope people realize that. Hakeem Jeffries is getting paid while he's speaking to us right now. MAGA Mike Johnson is getting paid. But when MAGA Mike Johnson tells Congress to go on vacation, tells Republicans don't show up, they're getting paid while they're at home by Democrats and Republicans, voters alike that pay taxes. While Hakeem Jeffries is talking, MAGA voters who pay taxes, they're paying for him while he's talking. He gets paid.
As Democrats, our view is that we will find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues.
The military and ICE, they won't get a check. They won't get another check until the shutdown is over. They have to work, however. They have to show up to work. All essential employees do not get paid. See, some essential employees are not like congressional members. Now, let's just stop it because we can see that it amazes me how many people will die for a country that they don't even know the rules about.
A U.S. federal government shutdown, many federal workers are affected. Some are required to keep working but don't get paid until after the shutdown ends, while others are furloughed and told not to work at all. Here's a clear breakdown. Who keeps working but doesn't get paid until later?
Who keeps working but doesn't get paid till later? Military personnel, active duty. Air traffic controllers, FAA. And by the way, you did hear Mike Johnson talk about that. If you watch the United States American news, if you listen to MAGA Mike Johnson, he just said that about air traffic controllers the other day, just in the news. But the thing here is how he's getting the American people is that he's not telling you the military active duty doesn't get paid. ICE doesn't get paid. And this is really what their problem is. They don't want to talk about it because they know how stupid that is. They know how stupid that is because they're the ones that sent the military out on the American streets. They're the ones that sent ICE out. So how stupid is it to not have a plan to pay them? But yes, in reality, that's what is happening, folks. And that is confirmed by every government agency in the United States of America and every news network in the United States of America. Period. Period. Now let's go back to MAGA Mike Johnson, because you could obviously see some people don't follow their own laws.
Of New York, Leader Jeffries, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you here on a very busy morning. I do, of course, want to get to the shutdown, but first I have to ask you about these developments in the Middle East. Of course, Hamas saying that it will, in fact, turn over the hostages. Leader Jeffries, let me ask you, do you support President?
Back pay is, they get back pay when the shutdown is over. If the shutdown is never over, they have to wait. So if the shutdown takes 2 months, they don't get a check from the government for 2 months. If it takes 3 months, they don't get that check. You see, the last check, ICE is guaranteed to get paid, or the military is guaranteed to get paid, or the air traffic controllers is guaranteed to get paid, and anybody else on that list. The last check was at the top of this, was on the, actually, did the shutdown happen on the 1st? Because if the shutdown happened on payday, before payday, they don't get paid. You know, if the shutdown happened after payday, that's the last check they will get until the shutdown is over. It's just very simple, and it's always worked that way. It worked that way under the Biden administration. It worked that way under the George Bush administration. It just works that way every time. You know, when the Republicans want to have a shutdown, which they did under Biden, it worked that way too for the same groups of people.
President Trump's 20-point peace proposal?
Well, I support a path toward a just and lasting peace, and that needs to involve making sure.
Not all essential personnel get paid. Let's go back to it again, because see, people, again, apparently they're not paying attention to their own laws in the own government they pay taxes to. Essential personnel does not mean you get paid. It means you have to work. Let's listen again.
Federal government shutdown. Many federal workers are affected. Some are required to keep working but don't get paid until after the shutdown ends. While
some are required to keep working but do not get paid until the shutdown ends. Do you want to know who that group of people are that don't get paid but have to keep working until the shutdown ends? Here it is.
While others are
By the way, you heard MAGA Mike Johnson qualify this himself. He already said TSA workers don't. But there's a whole list. Here's the list.
Breakdown. Who keeps working but doesn't get paid until later? These are essential or accepted employees.
Who gets paid? Who has to work but doesn't get paid? These are essential or accepted employees. They must report to work but will only receive back pay after the shutdown ends. That means if you're in the military, you might want the shutdown to end. If you're a member of ICE, you might want the shutdown to end. If you're a TSA agent, you might want the shutdown to end. If you're an employee of one of the federal contracts that Elon Musk has gotten, you might want the shutdown to end. If you're an employee of any federal contract that's gone out to some private company or entity, you might want the shutdown to end, because it is definitely 100% going to affect your pockets if it extends, just like everyone else's pockets that it will affect in this list. I mean, it just is what it is.
They must report to work but will only receive back pay after the shutdown ends. Examples: military personnel, active duty, air traffic controllers, FAA, TSA.
Yo, these people don't get paid. They don't get paid. And not in the shutdown. And again, Mike Johnson has told you some of the people, FAA, TSA, you see, they've told you. Caroline Levitt has told you on national TV, TSA agents, air traffic control, they've said this already. But what they just didn't do is tell you everyone that won't get paid. See, they don't bother to do that because they're hoping that you research it yourself, because you're the one paying for Trump to be paid while there's a shutdown. MAGA Mike Johnson to be paid while there's a shutdown. See, military personnel are not the same. They're not in the same class group. They're in a lower class group. MAGA Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries are in a higher class group with Trump. They get paid during a shutdown. It's just that simple. But they do have to work. When the shutdown is over, many of them get back pay, but some of them lose their jobs. It all depends. There's a lot of details in this. But the main fact that you didn't know that active duty military personnel is not the same as MAGA Mike Johnson, damn, you should really know that. If you didn't know that active military and ICE is not the same as President Trump, that they don't have the same guarantees during a shutdown, damn, you should know that. If you didn't know TSA agents aren't on the same level as Hakeem Jeffries or, for example, MAGA Mike Johnson or Trump or Caroline Leavitt, damn, you should know that because they get paid during a shutdown. These groups of people don't. Healthcare workers at VA hospitals don't get paid. They get back pay when the shutdown is over. Nuclear safety and power grid operators don't get paid. They have to show up to work like the rest of these people on this list, but they don't get paid until the shutdown ends. MAGA Mike Johnson still gets paid. Hakeem Jeffries still gets paid. Donald Trump still gets paid. Caroline Leavitt still gets paid. You people are not on the same level. Listen, military personnel, you're not as important as Caroline Leavitt. She gets paid. Or Trump, or Hakeem Jeffries, or MAGA Mike Johnson. Air traffic controllers, you're not as important. Your lives and your families are not as important according to the United States federal government. You don't get paid while MAGA Mike Johnson gets paid, while Hakeem Jeffries gets paid, while Donald Trump gets paid, while Caroline Leavitt gets paid. You're not as important. Your families are not as important. You just have to understand that. Okay? TSA agents, your families are not important as Caroline Leavitt's is, as Donald Trump's is. You will not get paid during a shutdown. You just have to understand that. Those are the laws that Congress and the Senate passed and presidents have signed. Now, Trump can make an executive order if he wants, but until he makes an executive order, it stays as this. Border Patrol and federal law enforcement, FBI, DEA, Secret Service, Customs, you have to show your ass up to work. But you are showing your ass up to work to protect someone that gets paid while you don't get paid until the shutdown is over. Healthcare workers at VA hospitals, yes, same situation, have to go to work. Don't get paid until the shutdown is over. Weather forecasters, I mean, Donald Trump don't even give a damn about weather forecasters, you know. That's just funny business to the Republicans, but they don't get paid, but they got to show up to work. Nuclear safety, yeah, certain IRS employees, hoorah, Trump was going to fire a lot of IRS anyway, hoorah, hoorah. Yeah. But those are just the facts. Now, let's go back to what is new news. And let's not continue to go over what is old news and what folks should have already known when they elected their officials. You know, damn.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Leader Jeffries, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you here on a very busy morning. I do, of course, want to get to the shutdown, but first I have to ask you about these developments in the Middle East. Of course, Hamas saying that it will, in fact, turn over the hostages.
That allows for
To the big news here in Washington, of course, which is the shutdown. Before lawmakers broke for the weekend, House Speaker Mike Johnson said the House would not return to Capitol Hill this week or in tour till Leader Schumer reopens the government. When is the last time you spoke with Republican leadership?
Well, the last time there was a conversation with Republican leadership was in the White House meeting last Monday. And unfortunately, since that point in time, Republicans, including Donald Trump, have gone radio silent. And what we've seen is negotiation through deep fake videos, the House canceling votes, and of course, President Trump spending yesterday on the golf course. That's not responsible behavior. As Democrats, our view is that we will find bipartisan common ground with our Republican colleagues to reopen the government, to actually pass a spending bill that meets the needs of the American people. But we have to decisively address this Republican health care crisis that is devastating hardworking Americans.
People in the chat, just so we can know the trolls from the real people, right? Even though trolls are real people, they don't know as much about the United States. They're not actually in the United States, unless they're American Republican trolls. But tell me this, who's your healthcare provider? I just want to know if you're a real American. Who's your healthcare provider?
And taxpayers.
Democrats are demanding an extension of Obamacare tax credits, which expire at the end of the year, as well as other health care benefits for the funding bill. Here is what the vice president said about that this week. Take a look.
It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. It's a lie that is obviously untrue if you just look at the text that they gave us.
Damn, so far there's only one person that knows who their own healthcare provider is. That's interesting. Okay.
Personally targeted you with memes.
Two people? Okay, still waiting.
We'll show a screenshot of one of the videos. This was put out by the president. The president also called the Democrats the party of, quote, hate, evil, and Satan. Is the president someone you still feel like you can negotiate with? Do you have that relationship with him?
Well, that behavior is outrageous, it's unhinged, it's unreasonable, and it speaks for itself. The American people deserve better than lies, than attacks, than deep fake videos, and the president spending all of his time on the golf course. We need serious leadership. And we will continue to make clear, Leader Schumer, myself, that we will sit down anytime, any place with anyone to address this issue with the seriousness that it deserves, to stand up for the American people in addressing this cost of living crisis and this health care.
He said trolls are Googling now. Exactly. Thank you.
Crisis that Republicans have visited upon the country.
All right, Leader Jeffries, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And joining me now is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Mr. Speaker, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I didn't know Medicare was called Medicare in everybody's state. That's interesting. Okay.
Thank you so much for being here in person. Let's talk about your latest move. You announced this week that the House will not be in session until the government reopens, but there are still things that you could be doing.
Now let's listen to this. Hear it for yourself. MAGA Mike Johnson, he's claiming something that's completely false. He's getting paid right now. He's getting paid to do his job. You see, Congress is still open for business, y'all. They're getting paid your tax dollars. Now, you don't have to like MAGA Mike Johnson. You didn't have to vote for him. You could think he's a queer. You could think he's a dickhead. You could think he's a bastard. You could think that all you want. That's fine and dandy with me. But a percentage of your federal payroll taxes goes to his pocket in a shutdown. Now, on the contrary, on the flip side, you could throw a sombrero on Hakeem Jeffries all you want. You can make light of ethnicity in America, which there's a lot of different ethnicities. Did you know Irish Americans are not the same ethnic group as Italian Americans? Duh. That's just how the United States was founded. There's a lot of different ethnic Americans, different types, right? There's Native Americans too. You could unlike Hakeem Jeffries all you want, but as it stands right now and tomorrow, because even in a shutdown, you still have to pay federal payroll taxes if you have a job. And a percentage of that is going into his pocket to pay for his family and his lifestyle, whether you like it or not. Trump is not claiming to want to reduce your taxes, dumbasses. You will be paying it no matter. So go ahead and make all the fun you want, right? But you might want to have them tell you the truth. And the truth is that the military does not get paid in a shutdown. ICE agents do not get paid in a shutdown, just like TSA agents don't get paid in a shutdown. No, all these people get back pay once the shutdown ends. Not even all of them, by the way. It's not totally guaranteed, and some might even be fired. So just so you know, but let's listen to MAGA Mike Johnson here.
And it speaks for itself. The American people deserve better than lies, than attacks, than deep fake videos, and the president spending all of his time on the golf course. We need serious leadership. And we will continue to make clear, Leader Schumer, myself, that we will sit down anytime, any place with anyone to address this issue with the seriousness that it deserves, to stand up for the American people in addressing this cost of living crisis and this healthcare crisis that Republicans have visited upon the country.
All right, Leader Jeffries, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And joining me now is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Mr. Speaker, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here in person. Let's talk about your latest move. You announced this week that the House will not be in session until the government reopens, but there are still...
See, he just announced. What did he just announce? Until they're in session, not until the shutdown ends. Why? Do you understand the difference? In session has nothing to do with a shutdown because all congressional members get paid even during a shutdown, whether you like them or you don't like them, whether you voted for them or you didn't vote for them. You should want them to work because every hour, every minute, every second you go to work and you pay federal payroll taxes, you're paying Dem congressional members, Democratic senators, you're paying Republican congressional members, Republican senators, you're paying independent senators, independent congresspeople. They're getting paid so they can have a steak dinner from you, the listener, if you're a real American taxpayer. The ones that aren't, thank you for joining anyway. It's all good because we're going to do some EU news coverage, which is heating up, by the way. But thanks to dumbass Trump. But, you guys, if you're an American citizen listening, you're paying for Hakeem Jeffries' steak dinner. You're paying for MAGA Mike Johnson's steak dinner, even while they're not in session. But that has nothing to do with a shutdown. You see, they could be negotiating. They can reach a deal no matter what. That's their job. That's their job. But it's not the military's job. You're not essential in that way. You're an essential. You have to go to work, but you don't get paid until the congressional members make a deal. You see? And right now, nobody's pushing for a deal because Trump said, fuck the Democrats. And the Democrats were like, oh, OK, he don't want to make a deal. Cool. He don't want us to be a part of anything he's going to sign because he said, fuck us. And I understand that. How many of you agree that no Republican should negotiate with any Democrat? Put a 1 in the chat if you believe no Republicans should negotiate with any Democrat. Put a 1 in the chat. I just want to see. Because this would tell me that, yeah, the Democrats shouldn't negotiate because nobody wants to work with them. So put a 1 in the chat if you feel like Republicans should not work with Democrats on anything. 0 don't count. It's just a 1. Just a 1. Just a 1. I mean, me, myself, I feel like Republicans shouldn't work with Democrats. I feel like Democrats should not work with Republicans. And I feel like the shutdown should remain. Because if the shutdown remains, ICE agents don't get paid. Very simple. They can go to work, but they won't get paid. They don't know when they're going to get paid. And I think that is a reality check for them. Also, Mike Johnson still gets paid. And I think that shows a class difference. You know what I'm saying? And I like that class difference because if American and MAGA people are not against class warfare, then what are they for? You know, if they're not against classism, then what are they for? It's like they deserve poverty. They deserve a president that really doesn't give a fuck. They deserve a president that guts healthcare. They deserve a president that, that rewards the billionaires first. They deserve a Congress that gets paid while other people don't get paid in shutdowns. They deserve all that shit if that's what they like. That's what I say. I mean, but it's not my thinking. My thinking is that in an intelligent America, you would have universal education. You would have universal health care for American citizens, documented American citizens, and documented American residents, legal ones. I would think that in a healthy society, you would already have that, like most of European societies have, like most NATO societies have. But I'm not claiming the United States is a healthy nation, you know? So, you know, I live out as an American citizen. I live outside the United States. So I have these things. I know they're normal things, but American citizens don't have those things and they don't know them to be normal. So I'm just watching. I'm just watching. Pay your taxes, though.
The House will not be in session until the government reopens. But there are still things that you could be doing. There are appropriations bills that you could be working on. There's a new Democratic congresswoman who still needs to be sworn in. Isn't there still critical work that you could be?
Yo, David Peck, what the? You don't need to tell me to stay out. What the fuck? But here's the thing. Even if I didn't stay out, when I go on vacations, I actually still have universal health care because all I got to do is pay an extra $20 to have my Danish health care shit transitioned over into the U.S. vacation. I mean, it's crazy. I get rights you don't get, bro. It's just that simple. And if that's how you like it, oh well.
Could be doing on behalf of the American public?
We're doing that critical work. Let me just start by saying I listened to my friend Hakeem there, and when we used to do debate competitions in high school, they taught us to watch out for the red herring. The red herring is a distraction. Literally everything my friend just said there was unnecessary because what he's trying to talk about is a December funding issue, the health care provision, some of these Obamacare subsidies that expire December 31st. He is looking over entirely the fact that we have to keep the government open in order to have those bipartisan debates and discussions.
See the lie right there? You see the lie? You don't have to keep the government open in order to have those conversations among congressional members because congressional members still get paid to be on duty. They are essential workers that get paid. You see the liar? It's just right there in your face. And if this is what Republicans want from their representatives, you deserve all the harm you get. No, attacking and killing liberals won't get you a better life. See, that's the thing. It only makes more work for you. You see, I mean, let's listen to the lie again. It's very simple. He's just said it himself.
Entirely the fact that we have to keep the government open in order to have those bipartisan debates and discussions that he just referenced.
Wrong. The government is closed. Mike Johnson has been going in and out of the building, you know, ducking and dodging. He's on news doing his job and he's getting paid. The congressional members the congressional members all get paid. They all have their steak dinner. Their bills are being paid. It is federal law that they are not affected by any government shutdowns, as they are essential, but they are essential that get paid. Military is essential, but they're not essential that get paid. You see, TSA are essential, but they're not essential that get paid. Are you starting to follow me? People that work for the Vets Hospital, they are essential, but they're not essential that gets paid during the shutdown. Not only that, there's other people. The people that work for Elon Musk contracts, those contracts that he has with the government, that the government subsidizes, they don't get paid. Anybody that has a federal contract with the U.S. government, they're not getting paid. You know, they get paid when the government opens back up. MAGA Mike Johnson gets paid anyway. Trump gets paid anyway. Caroline Leavitt gets paid anyway. Hakeem Jeffries gets paid anyway. Schumer gets paid anyway. You really got to know the law in your own country. I mean, just know the law. Damn. Just know the law. It's really that simple. It's posted on every all of this is posted for the public to see on every government website, on the House, in the Senate, the White House. It's all there for you. It's all there for you. It's not hidden information. I mean, let's listen to the lie again.
That he just referenced. This meant open in order to have those bipartisan debates and discussions. The health care provision, some of these Obamacare subsidies that expire December 31st. He is looking over entirely the fact that we have to keep the government open in order to have those bipartisan debates and discussions that he just referenced. He is looking over entirely the fact that we have to keep the government open in order to have those bipartisan debates and discussions that he just in order to have those bipartisan debates over entirely the fact that we have to keep the government open in order to have those bipartisan debates.
See, there's a difference from being out of session and having the government open. Mike Johnson called the Congress out of session. That has nothing to do with a shutdown because congressional members continue to get paid even in a government shutdown. Again, I really am really astonished how many American voters, I know a lot of y'all are trolls and wouldn't know this, but there's a percentage that are ignorant and just don't know this. And it could be on either side. I'm not saying, but this is a lot of information to know. And of course, if you're not really, there's certain types that would want to know this information. People that report on the news, like myself, they like to know what the fuck they're talking about. And then there's people that are emotionally drawn to it because it affects them personally. Me, it doesn't affect me personally because although I'm an American citizen, I don't live in the US. I live in Denmark. I live in Copenhagen. So here we have universal education for the same taxes you pay in the US. And we have universal health care for the same taxes you pay in the US. So things are different here. But since I'm an American citizen and I still vote and I still care about my country, I'm interested because I report on this shit and I don't like to not have backup. So here's the backup. I mean, you just go to your federal agency and check it out.
A US federal government shutdown can last indefinitely. There's no legal time limit. It continues and
It can last indefinitely. There's no legal time limit. And on top of it, guess who gets paid and who doesn't?
a US federal government shutdown, many federal workers are affected. Some are required to keep working but don't get paid until after the shutdown ends.
Some are required to keep working but don't get paid until the shutdown ends. Who are those people that have to keep working but don't get paid until the shutdown ends?
While others are furloughed and told not to work at all. Here's a clear breakdown. Who keeps working but doesn't get paid until later? These are essential or accepted employees. They must report to work but will only receive back pay after the shutdown ends. Examples: military personnel, active duty, air traffic controllers, FAA, TSA agents, airport security, border patrol and federal law enforcement, FBI, DEA, Secret Service, Customs, correctional officers, federal prisons, healthcare workers at VA hospitals, weather forecasters, NOAA, nuclear safety and power grid operators, certain IRS employees for essential functions, White House and congressional staff, some categories. They are legally...
Now, you see, White House and congressional staff, some categories. Now, that's what got me interested also, because I was like, wait a second. You know, I wanted to know beyond the general, the general groups that don't get paid. I wanted to know about the private contractors. So I went in and researched that too. I wanted to know more about the White House staff because I wanted to know who. And I'm like, yo, that's right. If the White House is not doing business, fuck their support staff. I mean, yo, really, that's how I look at it. White House ain't doing, and also the congressional members, fuck their support staff. Like really, I'm serious. If you get paid and you call a vacation and tell people to don't come into session, that's a clear indication that you don't give a fuck about your support staff. That's what Mike Johnson did. You see, that's what Mike Johnson did. I mean, now there's more information about the details out there about the Republicans and, the White House and the congressional members who doesn't get paid. We're talking about support staff. We're not talking about the actual reps. But, it's important. It's important to know this information before you make decisions.
Hakeem Jeffries of New
You see,
York, leader of Obamacare, actually live in.
If you make your decisions based on emotions, you're going to make a lot of bad decisions.
Memes throughout this negotiation. We'll show a screenshot of one of the videos. This was put out by the president. The president also called the Democrats the party of, quote, hate, evil, and Satan. Is the president someone you still feel like you can negotiate with? Do you have that relationship with him?
Well, that behavior is outrageous, it's unhinged, it's unreasonable, and it speaks for itself. The American people deserve better than lies, than attacks, than deep fake videos, and the president spending all of his time on the golf course. We need serious leadership. And we will continue to make clear, Leader Schumer, myself, that we will sit down anytime, any place with anyone to address this issue with the seriousness that it deserves, to stand up for the American people in addressing this cost of living crisis and this healthcare crisis that Republicans have visited upon the country.
All right, Leader Jeffries, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Let's talk about your latest move. You announced this week that the House will not be in session until the government reopens, but there are still things that...
You see that? You see that? So what he says is that he's ordering right there, he's ordering congressional members that still get paid, which are very different from military that have to work without pay. MAGA Mike Johnson has ordered people that still get paid by every single taxpayer in the United States of America, whether you fucking like it or not. He ordered them to go home when they actually are the ones that are getting paid to solve this problem. You have to see that for what it is. You know, I'm not making hyperbole. That is literally what you just heard. So what he is doing is he's giving Hakeem Jeffries a vacation. He's giving every Democrat congressional member a vacation on the taxpayer dime. And by the way, you MAGA people can't really even fucking afford it. But you are paying a dime on his check, too. You're paying a dime on Hakeem Jeffries' steak dinner if he goes on vacation or not. You're paying a dime. But MAGA Mike Johnson is the one who just told them all to go home. Look at this.
This week that the House will not be in session until the government reopens. But there are still things move. You announced this week that the House will not be in session until the government reopens. But there are still things that you could be doing. There are appropriations bills that you could be working on. There's a new Democratic Congresswoman who still needs to be sworn in. Isn't there still critical work that you could be doing on behalf of the American public?
We're doing that critical work. Let me just start by saying I listened to my friend Hakeem there, and when we used to do debate competitions in high school, they taught us to watch out for the red herring. The red herring is a distraction. Literally everything my friend just said there was
still critical work that you could be doing on behalf.
Look, somebody is in the chat giving disinformation. Eric, you're tripping. You're talking about something else. You have no idea. Why the hell was MAGA Mike Johnson on TV just hours ago saying this? If they already passed it, why the hell would he be talking about? You're not making any sense, bro.
On behalf of the American public?
We're doing that critical work. Let me just start by saying I listened to
Democratic Congresswoman session until the government reopens. But there are still things that you could be doing. Their House will not be in session until the government reopens. But there are still things that you could be doing. There are appropriations bills that you could be working on. There's a new Democratic Congresswoman who still needs to be sworn in. Isn't there still critical work that you could be doing on behalf of the American public?
We're doing that critical work. Let me just start by saying I listened to my friend Hakeem there, and when we used to do debate competitions in high school, they taught us to watch out for the red herring. The red herring is a distraction. Literally everything my friend just said there was unnecessary, because what he's trying to talk about is a December funding issue, the health care provision, some of these Obamacare subsidies that...
See? You see? So he's talking... MAGA Mike Johnson is commentating on what they're discussing in the House and the shutdown that is literally real, in case you didn't notice, Eric. Now, and he's explaining to you his position and why he told the House to go out of session. We're talking about Congress because he's the leader of Congress, to go out of session. OK, now out of session, they're still getting paid. That out of session is not a shutdown. It has nothing to do with a shutdown because they still get paid to work. You see, they are essential paid workers. They're not essential non-paid workers. That's different. The military is essential non-paid workers. ICE is essential non-paid workers, along with TSA, essential non-paid workers. People that work for the vet hospital, not essential but non-paid. That means they have to go to work, but they don't get paid. MAGA Mike Johnson is sending people home while they get paid. See, that's the exact opposite. Don't you see that? And this wouldn't matter. This wouldn't matter who does it. It wouldn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican that makes that decision. These are the facts. These are the facts. This man sent home paid workers, which is congressional members. He sent them home on vacation while the country is in a shutdown and the military has to continue to work without pay. The very people they put on the streets, ICE, have to work without pay. Don't you see the beauty in that? Don't you see the poetry in it? I mean, I see the poetry in it because it tells me that you guys elect some you're either dumb as fuck for electing this guy to be a congressional member in the first place. You are dumb as hell to waste your tax dollars day after day, hour after hour on a guy like this who doesn't care about people like you. Because you are not like him. It doesn't matter if you're a MAGA voter or if you're an Obama voter. You are not like him because you are not getting paid off the American people's tax dollar. He is. He's told all of Congress, go home. You don't have to work this week. You don't have to negotiate the shutdown or nothing, while he's telling other people to go to fucking work without being paid. Don't you see the irony in this? I mean, this is wild. This is wild. And straight up, every person around the world is watching this. This doesn't just speak to Trump or MAGA Mike Johnson. This speaks to how stupid the fucking American taxpayer is. That's what this gets down to. Because, sure, not all of you support this dumb shit. I get that. Don't worry. But enough to affect the whole body. Enough to make it a legal body. The American taxpayer as a whole politically supports shit that is not in their best interest. They politically support classism, like right out in the face. Right out in the face. You know, because it's not like being in the military. You get to go sit down on your fucking ass and scroll through some papers and go on Fox News and talk a bunch of shit, or MSNBC like Mac Johnson. No, MAGA Mike Johnson. He just gets to fuck around and eat steak dinners all day and lie to people and show up on TV. And he's telling the military, go ahead. That's what you want. That's what you want. Let's listen to more.
Expired December 31st. He is looking over entirely the fact that we have to keep the government open in order to have those bipartisan debates and discussions that he just referenced. The simple CR that we passed in
the shutdown, the shutdown can last indefinitely. I hope you know that.
A U.S. federal government shutdown can last indefinitely. There's no legal time limit. It continues until Congress passes and the president signs a funding bill,
It can last indefinitely. So 30 days, I suspect federal workers will start feeling it. You know, it takes them about 30 days before they start worrying about next month's rent, next month's, paying the bills, the electricity, the water bill, childcare bill, these kind of things. So I hope that because of what is at stake, I hope that because look, let's be honest, Trump was going to cut a lot of these jobs anyway. I mean, he already started off cutting off TSA. He's going to cut off IRS, more IRS, thousands. We're talking about in the thousands. He's looking to lay off a lot of people. So that's part of Project 2025. So if you know that he's looking to do that, then the best thing to do is to have this happen on your own terms, and that's what I like about what the Democrats are doing. Stay with the shutdown, because at least it happens on their terms. It hits everybody instead of just Dems. And by the way, who says Trump even wants a fucking election? Who says Trump is even wanting a midterm election? These are the stakes. These are where the stakes are. And so I personally think Dems should keep the government shut down until Trump is impeached and J.D. Vance is impeached, period. Also, look to impeaching a couple of Supreme Court justices that allowed a 34-time convicted felon to run for the president who already was known to have stolen, taken, and removed top secret documents and brought them to Mar-a-Lago and refused to give them back when asked politely. The best friend of Epstein for 15 years, who many people have likely been blackmailed because they had sex with women that were, with girls, minors that were sex trafficked slaves by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who, by the way, Trump wants to get off, wants to free. Trump wants to free. And I'm going to tell you, the more Americans that get on board with this, the faster Trump is going to get out of office, because Trump is going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. He's sick. The man is sick. So it's coming anyway. Trump, even if you don't look to impeach Trump, Trump is out anyway. He's out in 30. I don't even give him fucking 10 days. The man's sick. The man is sick. So you should understand, and comprehend what is at play here. You see, if you want to impeach Trump, you may as well do it using the shutdown. You may as well force them out, use the shutdown to do it, because Trump ain't going to last anyway. You ain't going to get a chance to impeach him. He's going to fucking step down himself due to sickness and pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. So you won't even get a chance to impeach him later. You see what I'm saying? You won't get a chance to impeach Trump later. It won't even matter. The question is how much damage is going to be done before he's the fuck out of office and before J.D. Vance is out of office. And Trump does not want to have a midterm election because they know they're going to lose because of what they've already been doing to the American people across the board. Red states, it doesn't matter. Poor people are poor people, whether you're living in a blue state or a red state. Middle class people are middle class people, whether you're living in a blue or a red state. These are the people that got hit by Trump and his tax cuts. These are the people that are paying his bills right now. The middle class and the poor pay the people who clock in to a job. They're the ones who pay 75% of the federal budget any damn way. You should want better representation. And I can understand Dems that want better representation. But if you're a Republican, middle class and poor person, and you ain't screaming for way better representation for your party, you are crazy. Parties can always get better, but goddamn, your party is trying to gut your lifeline. This thing about healthcare alone specifically targets you in red states. It hits everybody, but you are the most vulnerable. And we're going to get to that also. Here, let me just pull this back up here. Let me let MAGA Mike talk a little more, because there's some decent questions made here.
Live in states that President Trump won in 2024. We're talking about some 19 million people, Mr. Speaker. Can those people depend on...
See, they're talking about 19 million people in red states right now.
Congressional Republicans to extend those health insurance tax credits by the billion people, Mr. Speaker. Can those people depend on congressional Republicans to extend those health insurance tax credits by the time they expire?
We have plenty of time to figure that out because, again, it doesn't expire until the end of the year.
Do you commit to that?
I commit to what Republicans have always done and what we've already proven this year in the One Big Beautiful.
So you're expecting from a party that has a president that said fuck Democrats when they went to beat him, right? You're expecting that somehow Republicans are going to want to meet them later. Yo, that's a joke. That's not going to get negotiated at the end of the year. This is the last moment right here. If you don't negotiate sanity in your goddamn government right now, it's over for you. And I'm not, of course he's going to come after Democrats, but your country is finished. You better understand that. Your country is finished. You just better understand that. Whether you're a Republican voter or not, you better understand that. Why is that? Because your president, it has Elon Musk. He's got 3 different citizenships. Peter Thiel, who has 3 different citizenships, getting federal tax dollars from every American. He's sending military out on the street. Eventually, that's going to come back to you. All these things you see him doing towards Democrats is going to come back to Republicans, just like the healthcare thing did. In the beginning, it sounded like it was a good thing just for Democrats. Yeah, those Dems, they always talking about healthcare. No, this is coming back to red state voters now, and they are going to be hit the worst. They're going to be hit the worst. And if you think Dems are just going to sit back forever and just accept any type of treatment, you're out of your goddamn mind, because they're the majority of the country. You're just out of your mind. You see, it's just not going to go down that way. So my advice to keep the peace is keep the shutdown.
Big beautiful bill.
You know, why should Peter Thiel get paid? Why should Elon Musk get paid and you can't even get health care? Why should they? Keep the shutdown. Their employees don't get paid during the shutdown.
The working families tax cuts. Republicans are the ones in Congress working to improve health care access, quality, and make it cheaper. We want to bring the cost down of health care. Premiums are too high, but it's not because of Republican policies. It's because Obamacare is not working. We're trying to fix it. We've just shown in the one big beautiful bill, the working families tax cut, those reforms we made to Medicaid are not cuts to Medicaid. Medicaid.
Right. OK, so he talked himself out.
Time they expire.
We have plenty of time to figure that out because, again, it doesn't expire.
People, Mr. Speaker.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I got kicked out the session. Let me just play this over real quick so y'all can hear it.
Obamacare actually live in states that President Trump won in 2024. We're talking about some 19 million people, Mr. Speaker. Can those people depend on congressional Republicans to extend those health insurance tax credits by the time they expire?
We have plenty of time to figure that out because, again, it doesn't expire until the end of the year.
Do you commit to that?
I commit to what Republicans have always done and what we've already proven this year in the one big beautiful bill, the working families tax cuts. Republicans are the ones in Congress working to improve health care access, quality, and make it cheaper. We want to bring the cost down of health care. Premiums are too high, but it's not because of Republican policies. It's because Obamacare is not working. We're trying to fix it. We've just shown.
Now, listen, you got to understand, the United States of America is the only Western country, the only NATO member, and the most wealthiest NATO member that still hasn't figured out how to do health care. You know, yeah, they're the only ones that haven't figured out how to do it. Everybody else has figured out how to do it. They're also the only Western country that hasn't figured out how to do education. And they're the wealthiest, you know. So I just hope that the people who need to hear that message hear it, right? Because in the wealthiest nation on earth, the most powerful and wealthiest nation to have ever existed in the history of humanity, there's really no excuse. You should be angry at all representatives. If you're angry at Democrats, then fuck it. Just be angry at all about this, because this is a simple issue of math. Who's allowed to get away without paying taxes and whose businesses are subsidized by the taxpayer versus what's not subsidized? MAGA Mike Johnson does not want health care to be subsidized by taxpayers, but he wants his check to be. You're paying the same people he doesn't want to get health care, to have access to health care, are paying his goddamn check. The same people that are going to pay double and triple and 1,000 times more for their health care are the same people that's paying his check. The same people that MAGA Mike Johnson is saying you should pay more for your health care are the same people that are going home on the MAGA Mike Johnson. These are the same people MAGA Mike Johnson sent home and to be out of session while they get paid from your check. Right now, they're on session. That means they're getting paid. They're out of session. That means they're getting paid to do nothing. So who in their right mind would think that it makes any rational sense to pay a representative to send the very people that you pay to go home and do nothing? At the same time, he's telling you need to pay more for your health care. And at the same time, he's telling the military that, hey, fuck it. Look, while this shutdown happens and you don't get paid, ICE people, while this shutdown happens and you don't get paid, hey, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get paid. That's literally what Mike Johnson is telling people. That's literally what he's telling people. I mean, this is how people that are guaranteed to be paid by the taxpayer treat the taxpayer, is what I'm saying. You see, there's just, and it doesn't matter if he was a Democrat saying this or a Republican saying this or an independent saying this, he's still saying the same thing. It just doesn't matter. Now, who in the chat, if you pay federal taxes, who in the chat does none of their money go to any Democrat representative or Republican representative, or let's just say Democrat representative? Who does none of their payroll taxes go to any Democrat congressional members or senators? Put a 1 in the chat if your tax dollars that you work for, none of it goes to their salary, the Democrat in party in the House or in the Senate. Put a 1 in the chat if none of your money goes to any of them right now. I'm just curious. Let's see. I know I got to ask a stupid question, but there's some stupid people and there's trolls out there. So come on. Who thinks none of your federal payroll taxes from your check that you go to work with every day of the week, every second, who thinks a percentage does not go to the Democrats in the Congress and in the Senate? I want to see somebody. Anybody? Because you're paying them. You're paying them right now, whether you like it or not. So while you're paying them, MAGA Mike Johnson is telling Republicans and the whole House to go home. You're out of session. What the fuck? MAGA Mike Johnson is saying it's okay to be paid and do nothing. It's okay. At the same time, he's telling ICE, you got to go to work. He's telling the military, you got to go to work. This is crazy. There's no way you cut it. This is craziness. And if you support this shit, that you are just crazy. If you support this, you are just an idiot. You know, it shouldn't matter your party. You should never be okay with that. You should never. Yeah, MAGA Mike Johnson, he's on Grindr right now while he's on session. And a lot of them are. They like, let's not even get into Grindr right now because goddamn, you know, that's even another aspect to this with the hypocrisy. You know, Macho Man, MAGA Mike, you know, got a Grindr profile. Okay. He's a married Christian man, you know. Sure. Okay, buddy. Fine. That's what you say you are. I'm cool, MAGA Mike. You do your Grindr shit. All right. But the problem I have is that, goddamn, I knew he was a liar, but yo, it's even worse. This dude is literally telling Democrats, you out of session. You don't have to do shit. You can get paid. That's what he's doing. What fucking House leader tells the enemy, the party that's the enemy, that you can go home and do nothing? Who does that? That's what he did. He you know, so people, yeah, this is MAGA at its best, you know, really. Let's go.
Working families tax cut, those reforms we made to Medicaid are not cuts to Medicaid. Medicaid will continue to grow. It's just growing at a slower pace. Why? Because we got illegal aliens and able-bodied young men without dependents off of Medicaid. They were never planned to be there in the first place. And what the Democrats are demanding right now to keep the government open is we put them all back on there. We're not doing that.
Let's just set the table here for folks, and I'll just, Leader Jeffries talked about this, but just to reiterate to you the point that he just made, undocumented immigrants, as you know, are actually ineligible for
wrong.
federal health care.
No, let me correct you.
Let me say it,
Yeah.
then you can talk, okay? Right now, undocumented immigrants are not eligible for federal health care programs. Democrats, as you heard, say they're not trying to change that. But one of their demands would restore Medicaid funding for hospitals to give emergency care, including to undocumented immigrants. Are you suggesting, Mr. Speaker, that ER doctors check people's immigration status before they render emergency care?
No. Again, it's another red herring. What the Democrats are demanding is that illegal aliens that care for them in an emergency room should be reimbursed at a higher rate.
To the hospitals.
To the hospitals than American citizens, young pregnant women. They want to pay more for illegal aliens than U.S. citizens, and we are against that. The reason it's illegal.
Look, there's nowhere in the law where it's that there's nothing there. There's nothing there. He's citing language that just doesn't exist in the American Health Care Act. And yeah, it is only emergency room service. And it's not just illegal aliens. You know, American citizens, you need to wake up. It is not just illegal aliens. It is also tourists. If a tourist gets in an accident in the United States of America, yeah, actually, and this differs from state to state. Some states, through state tax dollars, provide more money to that. Maybe they're getting more money from tourists, so they want people to feel safe visiting their state, you know, things like this. But it is only the emergency room. And by the way, every Western country has that. Every Western country has that. Even the country I'm in, we have universal health care, universal education. That means that your children going to university, going to technical school, trade schools, that has nothing to do with the parent. You know, they're paid to do that. That's purely up to their own desire, their own mind, their own will themselves. It has nothing to do with how much money you get. The poorest person in the country's child can go if they want to. The richest person's child in the country can go, and they all get the same salary. Now, to do that, now healthcare is the same thing. You can get the public healthcare thing. If they can't figure it out in the public healthcare system fast enough, then you're allowed to be in the private healthcare hospital also with the same money. You know, it's just you're not allowed to exclude people. There has to be some integration of both of those things, right? But if you're a tourist, if you just happen to come to Denmark, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, if you're an American citizen, and for some reason something doesn't happen right with your healthcare thing, you signed on to a healthcare plan that suddenly you found out when they told you before you left, yeah, it'll cover you when you travel. And then you traveled and you find out, nope, they decided that yesterday, they passed the law 2 days ago that it doesn't work. Yeah, your emergency room shit still gets covered. That's called emergency help. That's life essential help. But after the life essential help is done, they don't pay for anything else. They're not going to continue to pay for your rehabilitation or anything like that. You're not getting medicine and all of that shit. You see what I'm saying? For a continuing illness, you see. But the U.S. has already had that. What the Republicans have tried to do was they've tried to narrow that down to illegal immigrants, right? When in reality, you have always in emergency rooms paid for a wide host of different types of people for emergency service only. But what the Republicans have tried to do is instead of give you some comprehensive education or knowledge about how that really works, they're trying to only inform you about the illegal immigrants that might get care when they get run over by a car. Come on, man. Come on. Is that what it is? Like, that's what they try to narrow it down to, when, in fact, that doesn't just apply to illegal immigrants. That applies to all Americans. By the way, if you don't have health care and you can't afford health care, are you literally trying to say that other Americans? And see, that's what's going on in the USA right now. You see, and that's what they've been trying to cut even before the Republicans have tried to cut that emergency shit out of just regular American citizens. So Congress did something about that. And of course, maybe there are some people that get in there for emergency care, but wasn't that better than the prior situation when no American without full coverage could get access to emergency room? You see, so they're really just manipulating the situation. By the way, again, if you don't do something about this, forget whatever you're talking about, forget illegal immigrants. If you do not do something about what is in what was in that bill passed, the big beautiful bill, you will pay more for your health care regardless of if any illegal immigrant gets emergency care or not. That's the other thing he's not telling you. Regardless of if something happens with this illegal immigrants getting emergency care in some states, because they're getting refused in a lot of states, right? Your insurance is going up anyway because of this big, beautiful deal that they signed, So just so you know, let's hear some more.
It's illegal right now for illegal aliens to receive taxpayer-funded benefits is because Republicans wrote it into the law July 4th. Don't take my word for it. Look at page 57, section 2141 of Chuck Schumer's counterproposal. It's on my website at speaker.gov. Everybody go look. Don't take my word for it. Read their section. They want to reverse those changes.
But first of all, law was put in place during the Reagan administration, which guarantees that anyone who walks into a hospital gets critical
It still
care.
applies.
You see? That was agreed on in the Reagan administration. Anybody. And the reason why you do it is because before that, American citizens without health care was getting refused. Don't you understand that? You got to keep it in context of what's happening. So it doesn't even matter. If the Democrats do not fight this, if the Democrats do not make demands to the Republicans right now, you are about to pay triple to 50 times more for your health care, and you will get less people being covered by health care, not illegal immigrants. We're talking about American citizens in the millions, in the double millions, and maybe even in the triple millions. You know what I'm saying? Which is a whole fucking lot. Maybe not triple millions, but 50 million, between 20 and 50 million across the country. American citizens could risk having health care at all. The other remaining ones are going to get less coverage, but higher. They will have to pay more for it. So, but then again, Trump was already going to cut this shit anyway. So, see, this is the thing. You got to learn how to stand your ground on your own terms. If the Democrats don't pick their own terms and do it this way, every American citizen is going to pay with what Trump does after. It's just that simple. Right now, Trump can do a little bit, but this shutdown doesn't just hurt average Americans. This shutdown hurts Elon Musk. It hurts all those rich people that back Trump to get those private government contracts. Yes, it does too. And that should be the biggest story, because they won't get a check either during the shutdown. And American citizens need to know that. American citizens need to know the truth. ICE agents will not get paid during this shutdown. You see, but, Mike Johnson will. Trump will. Schumer will. You see, they need to know the truth. They need to know that also these people with these private contracts, which are in the super billions of dollars with Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and others, they won't get paid either. You have to know that. So even though the Republicans aren't talking about that, that is actually their real problem. They're not going to talk about it because they don't want to draw attention to that. You see, that's what the issue is. Now, let me just let this play out because there's more news coming. There's something else interesting happening. A split in the Republicans is really happening. So let's just listen a little more.
So are you saying, because basically the implications of what you're implying is that ER doctors should be checking people's immigration. If someone walks into a hospital and they're bleeding out, should an ER doctor not render care to that person?
No, it's another red herring. I'm not implying that at all. Everyone knows when the hospitals seek reimbursement from the federal government, what they did under the Biden administration is they set in place a program that pays the hospitals more for illegal aliens than U.S. citizens. That is outrageous. If you look at on speaker.gov, you can see step by step, there's 5 different sections of our repeals of the law we did on July 4th that Democrats are demanding to reverse right now. It will spend $200 billion of hardworking taxpayer funds to pay for health care for illegals. We're not doing that.
What you reference refers to law. Personally targeted you with memes. Satan, is the president someone you still feel like you can negotiate with? Do you have that relationship with him?
Well, that behavior is outrageous, it's unhinged, it's unreasonable, and it speaks for itself. The American people deserve better than lies, than attacks, than deep fake videos, and the president spending all of his time on the golf course. We need serious leadership, and we will continue to make clear, Leader Schumer, myself, that we will sit down.
All right, let me just pull this off real quick. Now, there's a lot of people that believe that that don't get it. I see some people come new in the chat. By the way, click the like button and subscribe too. But listen, you're misinformed about who gets paid and who doesn't get paid. So you need to hear this. This is on any government website, the House, the White House, any government, government agencies have already said this. You need to be aware.
A U.S. federal government shutdown. Many federal workers are affected. Some are required to keep working but don't get paid until after the shutdown ends, while others are furloughed and told not to work at all. Here's a clear breakdown. Who keeps working but doesn't get paid until later? These are essential or accepted employees. They must report to work but will only receive back pay after the shutdown ends.
Examples.
Military personnel, active duty, air traffic controllers, FAA, TSA agents, airport security, border patrol and federal law enforcement, FBI, DEA, Secret Service, customs, correctional officers, federal prisons, healthcare workers at VA hospitals, weather forecasters, NOAA, nuclear safety and power grid operators, certain IRS employees for essential functions, White House and congressional staff, some categories. They are legally required to work, but will only get paid retroactively after Congress passes a funding bill.
Okay, next. Let's just go past to the next one.
During a federal government shutdown, not everyone in the White House or the broader executive branch keeps getting paid. The government divides employees into 2 categories under the Anti-Deficiency Act. 1, accepted, essential, must work during the shutdown, but don't get paid until after it ends. 2, non-accepted, non-essential, furloughed, can't work, and don't get paid during the shutdown, though Congress often passes back pay later. Here's a detailed breakdown for the White House and federal government staff.
So, people planning to build, hiring contracts, all this extra stuff that Trump is doing, that shit is stopped right now. You have to understand that. That is there's a lot of things being stopped that is not making the news. And I'm telling you, MAGA Mike Johnson is only telling you what he wants people to focus on. You heard for the first time, MAGA Mike Johnson and Caroline come out and talk about, how this shutdown is going to affect poor Americans, middle class working Americans. You never heard that shit before in their life. They were down on middle class Americans, and they talked down on middle class Americans every single day of the week. All of a sudden, they cared. Why did they care? Because it's not the truth. The truth is that it's affecting all those private contracts that they're getting paid themselves from. All that corruption. Guess what? The checks don't go out. All those fucking contracts, those private contracts, they don't go out. That shit's being halted. I'm telling you, watch. It's not just people inside of the White House, but it's also the private sector that has these government contracts. It's crazy, but listen.
White House staff. Most White House employees are federal employees, and their pay depends on their function. Keep working. No pay until shutdown ends. National Security Council staff, press secretary and communications for emergency updates. Chief of Staff and senior advisors managing shutdown logistics, White House medical unit, security and maintenance staff, IT security staff needed for communications and national security. These employees will work without pay during the shutdown, but receive back pay later. Furloughed don't work, no pay during shutdown. Policy staff, speechwriters, advanced teams, schedulers, administrative aides, and interns not tied to essential functions. Domestic policy and economic advisors, non-critical roles. Office of Public Engagement, Office of Science and Technology Policy, Council on Environmental Quality, etc. Many of these positions are non-accepted, meaning they cannot legally work during the shutdown. Executive branch agencies.
Did you hear that? Speech writers. I mean, just keep paying attention because there's a lot of details, way more details than even I can cover. And I'm covering way more details than legacy media is even covering. But let's keep listening because it gets worse. It's not over.
Each department determines which roles are accepted versus furloughed. Examples: Department of State, essential diplomatic and security staff stay. Most admins support furloughed. Department of Defense, active duty military continues working, no pay until later. Many civilian employees furloughed. Department of Justice, law enforcement and prosecutors stay, support staff furloughed. EPA, HUD, education, commerce, mostly furloughed, except critical safety security personnel. OMB.
OMB was the office that was going around firing people when Trump first came into office, by the way, just to remind people that, and now they ass ain't going to get paid. Now, because of the shutdown.
Office of Management and Budget. A skeleton crew stays to manage shutdown logistics. Who still gets paid automatically? President. Salary is mandatory spending. Members of Congress. Constitutional protection. Federal judges. Judiciary has its own funding. Vice President. Mandatory spending. But their staff are federal employees, so many are furloughed unless performing essential duties.
And you know, this is the weakest administration of all time. So they got big staff that they hired, like big people to prepare them for all kinds of shit, and likely shit that doesn't even have anything to do with the American people's business, like likely shit that has something to do with how they can get personal contracts themselves, meaning contracts that the taxpayers actually fund, you know, like likely all those people, they don't get paid right now. You got to see. And even a lot of those people get fired. You see what I'm saying? Like flat out. You should just know that. I can play it back for you and you can disagree.
Pay timing.
Oops. Let's bring it back.
Private security may be furloughed and not paid at all, even after the shutdown. In summary, group work during shutdown, paid during shutdown. A U.S. federal government shutdown, many federal workers are affected. Some are required to keep working, but HUD, etc. During a federal government shutdown, not everyone in the White House or the broader executive branch keeps getting paid. The government divides employees into two categories under the Anti-Deficiency Act.
Now, I'm telling you, this is what Trump doesn't like. This is what Trump doesn't like. You got to understand there's things that he likes because the shutdown, it hits a broad area. There's things that he does like that he was going to do anyway himself. Like we already know, TSA is affected by the shutdown, but we also know when Trump came into office, he fired thousands of TSA right off the top with the promise that he would fire loads of federal employees across the board, all sectors. Right. So we know that Trump is going to do that anyway, no matter if the Democrats make a deal or not. Trump is going to fire more federal employees. That's what he's going to do. Right. But at the same time, this is what's going on, too. A lot of the shit and the shenanigans that he's been up to that have something to do with him and his own cabinet's own finances, particularly when you're talking about government projects, contracts, not what they're really supposed to be doing, but all the contracts they're bagging up, which come from taxpayers that pay into the federal budget. Here, this is the part he's not saying. The Republicans are very wicked. And, you know, this is how this game is played. They don't talk about the things they don't want you talking about. They talk in limited speech. So they frame things so that you don't catch on to the big picture. So let's listen again. This is what's going to be affected by the White House. And this is the part Trump hates. This is why he's against the shutdown. He's not against the shutdown because TSA workers don't get paid, or because military don't get paid, or because the vet hospital don't get paid, or because education don't, sir. He's not pissed off at that. He's pissed off at this part.
1. Accepted. Essential. Must work during the shutdown, but don't get paid until after it ends. 2. Non-accepted. Non-essential. Furloughed, can't work, and don't get paid during the shutdown, though Congress often passes back pay later. Here's a detailed breakdown for the White House and federal government staff. White House staff. Most White House employees are federal employees, and their pay depends on their function. Keep working. No pay until shutdown ends. National Security Council staff, press secretary and communications for emergency updates. Chief of Staff and senior advisors managing shutdown logistics. White House medical unit. Security and maintenance staff, IT security staff needed for communications and national security. These employees will work without pay during the shutdown, but receive back pay later.
You see, they get background pay later. So those other ones are essential. Essential is two different groups. Essential that get paid, essentials that don't. They get paid later after the shutdown ends. So these are the people that won't get paid and people that could lose their job. And these are people that support all the White House appointees. You see, cabinet members. Now, check it out.
Furloughed, don't work, no pay during shutdown. Policy staff, speechwriters, advanced teams, schedulers, administrative aides, and interns not tied to essential functions. Domestic policy and economic advisors, non-critical roles. Office of Public Engagement, Office of Science and Technology Policy, Council on Environmental Quality, etc. Many of these positions are non-accepted, meaning they cannot legally work during the shutdown. Executive branch agencies. Each department determines which roles are accepted versus furloughed. Examples: Department of State, essential diplomatic and security staff stay. Most admins support furloughed. Department of Defense, active duty military continues working, no pay until later, many civilian employees furloughed. Department of Justice, law enforcement and prosecutors stay, support staff furloughed. EPA, HUD, education, commerce, mostly furloughed, except critical safety security personnel. OMB, Office of Management and Budget, a skeleton crew stays to manage shutdown logistics.
Right. So OMB, there's a lot there, but OMB are the ones that when Trump first came in office, they were going around firing tens of thousands of federal workers. That was their job. That was Elon Musk. They're going in there to figure out, where all the Dems are they can fire. Where are all the, where are all the lefties and where are all the liberals, they were on a liberal derangement syndrome program. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he was doing. This is tens of thousands of people. But now their office is affected. Only the skeleton crew can remain. All that other staff, no, they don't get paid during the shutdown. Yeah.
Who still gets paid automatically? President. Salary is mandatory spending. Members of Congress. Constitutional protection. Federal.
So Jeffries gets paid. MAGA Mike Johnson gets paid still because they're congressional members. So when MAGA Mike Johnson says that Congress is not in session, what he's doing is he's giving people that are paid by taxpayers like you and me, he's telling them they don't have to work while they get paid, while the military has to work and not get paid, while ICE has to work and not get paid. MAGA Mike Johnson sent everybody in the house home to do nothing while they're getting paid. You see, so just only for those that care. I mean,
Federal judges. Judiciary has its own funding. Vice President, mandatory spending. But their staff are federal employees, so many are furloughed unless performing essential duties. Pay timing. No one receives paychecks during the shutdown. except those funded by mandatory spending. Once the shutdown ends, Congress must appropriate back pay. Historically, Congress has always approved back pay for both accepted and furloughed federal employees, but not for contractors. Would you like me to show you
So not for contractors. And who are those contractors appointed by? I wonder what administration it is right now. Whose administration is it right now, y'all? Who controls that right now? You see? So again, if I was a Democrat, I'd keep the shutdown because I would be negotiating way more than just healthcare. I mean, healthcare is great. Don't get me wrong. I respect the Democrats. They've been fighting in the courts. They've been fighting in Congress, right? Trying to get shit done, trying to get the Epstein files, even though they're the minority party. They are not the majority party. They're the minority party, and they control no government, no branch of government. But so they've been still fighting. Also on the ground, people have been protesting, demonstrating. So organizing, a lot of Dems been organizing, and others also organizing too, right? It's broader than just Dems, what you see on the street. But if I was negotiating, although I probably wouldn't tell the public everything that I want, I would definitely be going after a lot more privately. I would be looking to see Trump step down, JD Vance step down, because look, Trump is on his way out anyway. You're not going to get a chance to impeach him because he's going to get sick and fall out on the street before any impeachment happens, right? So he's on his last leg, and he's going to any day pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Because this thing about going to court, to the Supreme Court, that's really getting shut down. They're not going to do it because it's just ridiculous to even. They would have to overturn every law in the book for to do it. It's obvious because the same administration argued, the last Trump administration literally argued and said that it doesn't apply to them, the shit that went on in Florida, that they don't have a non-prosecutorial agreement. That was under the Trump administration. That's what the people who arrested Ghislaine Maxwell said while Trump was president in his last term. He didn't have a problem with that. So you can't argue the opposite. Why did she wait to go to the Supreme Court? She could have went to the Supreme Court before, you see? So it doesn't make sense. So Trump is on his way out. Ghislaine Maxwell is going to get pardoned. You won't get a chance to impeach Trump. That's why they picked Trump, because he's old as fuck and they want him to fall out. He's not healthy. He eats hamburgers from McDonald's like other people eat steak. You see what I'm saying? Like, he's a 78-year-old man. He's about to fall out. He's doing all the things you're not supposed to do if you want to live, right? So Trump he's already got that baked into the cake. So if I was a Dem, I would stay in the shutdown until Trump resigns, because and JD Vance, because that's putting pressure. And I believe that this conversation is already happening among Trump's cabinet. Like, this is why you get somebody like Howard Lutnick, for one, coming out in the public, who's actually willing to actually talk about Epstein, right? I mean, you saw Howard Lutnick literally break down what's going on with Epstein. I mean, and he did that in front of everybody, no qualms about it. And that means that the people behind Trump, they're pretty much abandoning him. They're not going to abandon him
Can I ask
openly.
you about the messages this administration has?
They're not going to abandon him openly, but they're going to do little things. And
Crockett of Texas joins us. Congresswoman,
hold on, let me get to the Howard Lutnick one. Let's see here. Is it this one?
The building this.
Let's see here.
Administration.
All right, y'all. Can y'all hear me now? I was kicked out. It's the security. My security, it actually happened twice, but it took me a second to figure out what it is. Now, I'm following up now. Now, this is a critical element in the timing of the shutdown. Like, you cannot disassociate this act of Howard Lutnick from the shutdown. Again, sorry about that. That was my security activating on my phone, So it took me a second. It happened twice, but I didn't realize it was functioning the way that it was. But in any case, back to what I was saying. The statement that Howard Lutnick, you cannot disassociate Howard Lutnick's statement from the timing of the shutdown. So these wealthy people that backed Trump, some of them already had government contracts, like Elon Musk, like Peter Thiel, but Biden restricted them. They restricted them to a point that they didn't like that. So they put all their money behind Trump, right? And now that train ride is about to have a wreck. And that's what's going on behind the scenes. They're already looking towards what's going to happen next because they're risking their lifeline because they backed a lunatic. You see, and that train wreck is about to happen. So the timing of Lutnick's comments, everybody knew that Lutnick had to know something about Epstein, right? But Lutnick never spoke about it. And if you think that the New York Post just setting this interview up with Lutnick right now is just by coincidence, you are a damn fool. No, the people whose money, who risked everything, they're risking losing a whole lot for just being dumb, And this is what's going on behind the scene. This has everything to do with the shutdown. You see, they know that American people are pissed. And they know American people are demanding changes. And they know the party that is demanding the changes already has the most votes. You see, that's the whole electoral college thing. You could get less votes and become the president. Well, this time around, it's not going to work the same way. They also know that the majority of the American people, whether it's blue, there's many more red that are that day by day are becoming more increasingly frustrated and angry at Trump. Hence, Charlie Kirk. You see what I mean? Shot by somebody in Utah, in a red state, in a red town, from a red family. You see what I'm saying? Like, everybody on the red side is not for Trump anymore. Those times have changed, for good, because they see that the cost of goods are going up, the cost of inflation across the board is going up. Right. And they see they got a lunatic president that is out there attacking allies and all kinds of shit. Right. Doing things for self. His son and his family is engrossed inside of the government now. They're getting government contracts. So when you see Howard Lutnick say this, it represents a larger split among these technocrats and these billionaires that have been behind Trump. They got everything they wanted out of Trump, but they're smart enough to know this train wreck is about to end a lot of that. So they're repositioning themselves, and they're hedging their bets. They're saying, should we reposition ourselves around J.D. Vance, a guy who just repeats everything Trump says, a Trump sycophant, or should we back up out of this shit and start being a little more moderate? And that's what Lutnick's comment represents. See, he knows he don't want to be finished. He knows he doesn't want to be ended, and he knows just backing Trump verbatim is what will end your career. It will end your career with the American taxpayer, red and blue. You see, because they're the ones that are paying the federal contracts with their tax dollars. So let's listen again to Howard Lutnick, whose timing goes together with the shutdown.
Who at one point was his neighbor. Take a listen.
I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me. Ooh. And he says, and the right kind of massage. That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
Oh, man. Unsettling.
Oh, man.
Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. She's still here with us. Congresswoman, what are the next?
So you're going to see this, if you think that was just a coincidence, that New York Post and Howard Lutnick just decided to tell what he knows about Epstein right around the same time as the shutdown. No, it's not a coincidence, because you have to understand something. He's smart enough to know that the shutdown affects federal contracts. He's smart enough to understand that this shutdown affects more than just TSA. It affects more than just the Veterans Hospital. It affects more than just these things you hear the Republicans now being willing to talk about. It also affects the federal contracts for people like these billionaires that are getting billions and billions and billions and billions, $50, $100 billion a year from the American taxpayer, because they are private contracts and they are not protected. In a shutdown, the money halts. It does not get sent out to their corporations to pay their staff that have contracts with the U.S. government. You have to understand that is what ties it in. Now, yeah. On that note, I'm not going to waste a lot of people's time. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. But listen, click like if you haven't clicked like. Click subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'm an American citizen who lives outside of the U.S. I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. I've lived here for some time. I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. Both sides of my family is from the colonial period in the United States. I do care about my country. I care about my countrymen. I'm not a Danish citizen. I'm an American citizen. My American citizenry is the only citizenry I've ever had in my life, and it's the only one that I hold, and it's the only one I really intend on holding, unless for some reason my government goes under. Then I will be forced to become a Danish citizen. And by the way, I wouldn't mind that either, because I know a lot about Danish history. I know a lot about the Danish people. I respect Denmark, and I respect everything about it. Denmark definitely got it going on, especially when it comes to learning from others, especially when it comes to taking care of their citizens, right? Especially when it comes to taking care of the middle class and the poor. The middle class and the poor definitely have a fairer opportunity in Denmark than they have ever had in the United States of America. And the middle class and the poor in Western countries, in all other Western countries, definitely had a better opportunity, a better life than in the United States of America. I just hate to say that. That bothers me. Now, I love my country where I grew up at. I had a great life. I grew up on Capitol Hill East, and Anacostia. So I'm somewhat privileged myself. I grew up riding my bicycle across the whole city, swinging on the flagpole of the Library of Congress in the morning on the weekends. I mean, shit, we got all types of people. The people that live in Washington, D.C. come from the civil rights era, lawyers, activists, all kinds of shit, people, doctors, teachers, these kind of people. So I love that. But this guy has fucked that all up. Trump and these people that only think about themselves have fucked it all up. And by the way, if we did have universal education like we have in Denmark, the American citizens would never vote for a person like Trump in the first place. So I do see the correlation in that. Now, I'm going to leave out on this last message, and I hope you all hear it clearly from another American, and you decide for yourself.
Our democracy is being taken away from us, and we only have about a year. Just to be clear about this, and people, you're doing a great job, and a lot of other people are doing a good job to tell people what is actually happening in this country. But make no mistake, we have a year before this country becomes a full-on autocracy and democracy completely leaves us. And we're looking at the election in 2026, and Donald Trump knows. He knows that in a free and fair election, he will lose. He will lose the House. The House will flip and will become into Democratic hands. There'll be committee chairs that'll be able to hold hearings, and this is the last thing he wants. So this little, these ICE agents and the National Guard, and now he's called the military in from all over the world to talk to them about, don't be surprised when polling booths are surrounded by American military in the guise of making sure that the election.
Yeah, so you heard that. In the guise of making sure that the elections, but they're going to say they want to make sure the elections are safe, but we know what that means. Just like they don't send out, when somebody got shot in Utah, when Charlie Kirk got shot in Utah, they weren't concerned about sending the National Guard to Utah. They don't want to know how many more people have guns, how many more potential killers there are in Utah, even though, to be honest with you, there's a lot of gun owners that own assault weapons in Utah. I mean, they could do that any day of the week, anybody in Utah, because of the laws, right? So they're more concerned about who agrees with them in politics, not actually crime. Now, there's crime all over the country happening. You didn't see these people go out. I mean, they're not going to Mike Johnson's town. They're talking about it. I don't know if they have. Let me know if they have. But crime is all over the Midwest. Not just crime, but guess what? Poverty is all over the Midwest, right? Poverty is all over red states. I mean, you don't see them caring about their health care. You see, they keep talking about, well, if you get some of the illegals off of healthcare, that's not the problem. People should have already had fair and equal access to healthcare, period, whether these illegals getting it or not. You got enough. The United States has enough money. You see what I mean? So money has never been the issue. The issue is classism. They never want to do anything, not for poor white people or for poor anybody else. That's what this is about, divide and conquer. And I'm not saying that there's not issues of discrimination that are worth viewing, but right now we need to focus on the class war. And these people are totally like Elon Musk. He's got 3 citizenships. Do you think he cares more about the United States people than a person that has one that grew up in the United States, or whose family comes from the United States? Do you think that's possible? Peter Thiel has 3 different citizenships. Do you think he cares more about? I mean, that doesn't make sense, does it? No. If you got 3 citizenships, you should care equally about all 3. But he don't care about one. That's the point. You only have one. Most American taxpayers only have one goddamn country to care about. You see what I'm saying? And people need to start thinking about this. They're getting all your money, and they're not even fucking required to care just about the United States of America. You better really get that through your head. No matter if you're Republican or Democrat, you need to get it through your head. So on that note, I'm out. I want to say thanks to the trolls. And I also want to say even more, or just equally thanks to the real folk that come out and listen. And there's way more of you, and I appreciate that. Click like, click subscribe. If you want to be a member, become a member, because I'm going to keep this up every day of the week, because it's only out of love and only out of care. I would be a hypocrite to have universal health care and not want my fellow Americans to have it. I would be a hypocrite to have universal education for myself. I can still go back to school if I want, and for my kids, and not want my fellow Americans to have the same when they live in a much more wealthier and powerful country than little old Denmark. You see what I'm saying? I would be a hypocrite if I didn't bother to take the time to mention it. So on that note, I'm out, y'all. I appreciate everybody. We catch up later, y'all. Peace.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a debt old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the brink. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really
hold on, y'all. Stokely said V Media as a Dane. Are you a Dane, Stokely? Because I'm not a Dane, but I live in Denmark as an American citizen, right? So just to let you know that. But I'm not Danish. And if I was, I wouldn't have a problem with being Danish, by the way, because Danes are very proud people and have a lot to be proud of. But I'm not a Dane. But as far as me and Danes, right, how they feel, they're like, fuck Trump. What the fuck is Trump talking about? You traitor? They believe Trump is a traitor. Basically, they're like, why are you fucking with us when we've been backing your ass up the entire time, the United States? Let me tell Americans something. Denmark has backed up the United States more than many, many countries. Denmark has lost more casualties, more lives than any other NATO nation in the conflict, the so-called war on terror. In this conflict with Afghanistan and Iraq, Danish people, by percentage, I'm talking about by percentage, not by numbers, but not by outright numbers, amount of death, but per person. Per person. Denmark's only just next to 6 million people. So for that amount of people per person, they lost a lot of people. So Denmark has been a staunch ally of the U.S. thick and through for decades and decades and decades. You got to understand that. You must understand that Denmark has only been a friend to the United States, and they feel like this is a betrayal. Pretty much. It is a betrayal, if you ask me. Secondly, Greenlanders don't fucking want to be part of the United States of America. They want to be their own people, and they're in negotiations. They've been getting more power in negotiations. They've been negotiating independence with Denmark for some years, for a decade now. So, and they've come a long distance. So they're about to be totally free themselves. They're autonomous, but they're about to be totally free themselves. But they don't want the United States coming and bullying them either. And when the United States bullies them, that makes them wonder, like, damn, should we be independent? Because we're going to need somebody to help us. And I think Canada would play a big role in that, too. But Canada is also an ally. They understand how NATO works. You don't interfere in people's situations. So Canada wouldn't interfere unless Greenland and Denmark asked them. They would try to find a peaceful way to do things. And but Trump is not peaceful. Trump doesn't care. Trump doesn't care about NATO. He doesn't care about respecting other nations. He doesn't care about respecting his neighbors. So that's my thoughts on it. In any case, I'm out, yo. I appreciate y'all.
One is a war, diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, they want more, but they want to keep it low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattacked and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual mental that's disguised as religion, controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war. All they really want is a war. The mercenary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning,